You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back. And if you're new to the channel, I'm Sean Reynolds from Simple Properties Northwest, Reynolds and Kline Appraisal, and your host of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Real estate is right in the middle of the name of our podcast, Seattle Real Estate Podcast. Sometimes we do talk about, and by we, I mean me, talk with you about real estate. This is one of those times. So if you came to this podcast, this specific podcast, hoping to hear me talk about CHOP or Seattle City elected officials or any one of the other ridiculous things going on in Seattle, this is not one of those times. What I'm doing in this podcast is I'm going through basically 4 pages of MLS stats for the previous month that kind of take a hard dive and look and see what's happening in the Seattle market, and kind of a bigger market than just Seattle, the Pacific Northwest. And I try and keep it light, and I try and give my input as a managing broker and also the owner of a real estate appraisal company on what's going on. Consider this like a monthly tips and tricks, real estate, Seattle style. Let's jump on in. So this is, again, the Northwest Multiple Listing Service. It's their stats, and I'm going to read it and give you input along the way. Because no matter what you say about what a train wreck Seattle is, we've still got one of the hottest, fastest appreciating markets in the United States. People keep saying, oh, I wouldn't buy there ever. It's never going to go up, and property values are just going to tank. Guess what? Since CHOP, they have skyrocketed, and they are skyrocketing right now. You've got low interest rates across the United States. What's happening to Seattle is not unique. This is happening across all kinds of markets in the United States. You've got low inventory, and you've got interest rates that are spurring people on to buy. You've also got people making their home a focus of their lifestyle, because guess what? Everybody's stuck at home. A lot of people don't know when they're going to go back to work, if they ever go back to work in an office. I think they will. I think that's short-sighted. I think by middle of 2021, a lot of folks will be going back to the office. They'll be going back to the tin can in downtown, is what I call the high-rises. It's actually not tin, is it? It's steel, and it's mainly glass. So I should say glass cage. That just doesn't sound as fun. But let's jump on in. All right, Northwest Multiple Listing Service brokers completed 10,175 transactions during September. That is the highest monthly volume since June 2018, when MLS members reported 10,072 closed sales. September's closings also marked a jump of nearly 28% from the same a month ago. 28%. So August to September, August was strong. I mean, no doubt about it. August was strong, but September, I mean, no question about it. Real estate professionals I'm talking to are saying they are having some of the biggest years ever. This could be one of those years where even if things shut down right now, a lot of people have the biggest year of their careers. That's kind of how real estate is going during a pandemic. Yep, during a pandemic. Doesn't it seem weird? It's just crazy. Real estate does well. Everything else tanks. A lot of people out of work, a lot of people out of business. But people are looking at their homes going, I need a bigger space. And rates are really low. There's no inventory. Oh no, I found my perfect home. Let's make this happen, and it's go time. That is what's happening all day long. All right, so here's a quote. I believe this significant increase speaks to sellers becoming much more confident and buyers competing more effectively, most likely due to low interest rates, remarked Mike Grady. He's president and COO at Coldwell Banker Bain. It's as if we just completed our typical spring market, he added. Well, it is exactly like we just completed the spring market, because our spring market didn't happen. We were shut down in just about the second week of March. End of the second week of March, we were closed down basically through April. Things were just not happening. And then middle of May, second week of May, we started to see a little bit of a resurgence. And at that point in time, I was like, man, we don't have much inventory. We've got these crazy low rates. And I predicted back then, if you want to go back through my old podcast, which is really boring, but maybe you've seen some of those, I was talking about we are off to the races and we're going to see some incredible appreciation, because there was nowhere for the pressure to go but up. There was no sideways or lateral motion for the market to have. It was just up. You didn't have any inventory. So all the people saying, oh, property values are going to drop because of COVID, guess what? That didn't happen. The market dynamics were not there to happen. A lot of people have been saying, hey, we're going to have a massive housing crash because of COVID. The opposite happened. Interest rates dropped. They've dropped to historic low levels. And our inventory, historically low levels. And then guess what? Everybody's stuck at home and they're like, we need more space. Not only is this our gym, this is our workplace, it's our office, it's also our school, and everything else in between. We need more space. This home is no longer acceptable for us. Will that be a short-winded thing? I don't know. I kind of think so. But maybe it's just something for people to kind of focus on to get them through the Rona, right? Let's go buy a house. That's a lot of what we've got going on. The new report from Northwest Multiple Listing Service showed a sharp year-over-year drop in inventory, down, this is a good one, down 43% from a year ago. So you got 10 homes in the market. Now you're going to take 4.3 of those off, right? Just gone, not on the market. So you are left with 6.5 homes. So it doesn't sound like a ton, kind of big picture, but it is a massive, massive amount. And I think we are down to under a 1 month of supply, which in a normal market, your 4 to 6 months is a normal equilibrium point for any real estate market. We are under a month. So anything that comes on, boom, it's gone. It's done. It's off the market, sold. We had a robust increase, 23% in pending sales. Those are mutually accepted offers, and a sizable surge, 19% in prices for single-family homes and condos combined. That's across the Northwest Multiple Listing Service. 19% surge year over year in prices. Enormous. Those are huge numbers. These are all numbers that are like, what? If we didn't have these numbers consistently so many months in a row, this would be just headline news. And you'll see some headline news, but there's only so many ways the media can kind of spin this to get your attention. Because after a while, and I even feel like me telling you guys what this news is, that people are going, yeah, so what? We heard that last month, heard that the month before, and you have. But this is an incredible run that will not last forever. You got some weird circumstances, some weird dynamics, some weird business stuff going on, economic stuff going on. This will not last. It is an anomaly, guaranteed. All right, where was I? The MLS combines, the MLS serves 23 counties in Western Washington and a little bit in Central Washington. Whether last week's announcement from Boeing to consolidate to a single 787 production location in South Carolina, resulting in the loss of about 900 Puget Sound jobs, will dampen home sales is unclear. To me, that is a non-factor. It's a non-issue. Those jobs basically just get sucked up by everything else happening with all the employers here. You got Microsoft, you've got Amazon. How many jobs are Amazon bringing in? Thousands. They are literally bringing in thousands from Seattle to here in Bellevue, where my office is. It's going to chew up that number. Does Snohomish County, which is the county north of where I'm in, and King County, where Seattle is located, does Seattle County or Snohomish County take a little bit of a hit? I don't even think so there, because the number of jobs we're talking about with the Boeing 787 plant being consolidated in South Carolina, it's a non-issue. You've got so many jobs coming into this area that even though a production line like that is being taken out, I don't think it has any impact whatsoever. And I think this article is just kind of taking the conservative route. Well, we're not sure. We'll have to kind of wait and see, because that's what you do when you're a real estate guy. You hedge. Except if you have a podcast, and then people can say, you said that. And so you just got to be kind of sure. You got to be kind of confident and run with it. That's what I do, whether I'm right or wrong. It's too soon to make any solid predictions about how Boeing's announcement will affect the Snohomish County housing market, but I am watching it closely, said Matthew Gardner. He's the chief economist at Windermere. We could see an increase in the number of homes for sale as workers either leave the area or decide to sell to access the equity they have in their homes. If this does happen, the increased supply will likely be absorbed by buyers who currently have a limited number of homes to choose from and counter any downward pressure on prices. That is absolutely correct. We don't have enough. If you've got less than a month of inventory and you put about 1,000 homes in the market, guess what? Those get snapped up, just boom, done. in this kind of market, in order for the market to get back to equilibrium, where you've got that 4 to 6 months, you're going to have a massive amount of inventory that needs to be dumped on the market, and that is not happening. And that's certainly not happening from that few of jobs being taken out of the job pool. Grady believes any impacts will be counteracted given recent expansion announcements by number 1, Facebook, number 2, Amazon, number 3, Microsoft, and a ton of other related companies to either purchase, build, or renovate major office buildings in the region. I did a podcast probably a couple of weeks ago that Facebook just spent, $367 million. They bought REI's recently completed suburban company headquarters here in Bellevue, just a few blocks up the road from where I am here in Bellevue. Facebook, they're in town. They're hiring. People want the labor pool of Seattle. That's the bottom line. Somebody made a comment the other day about Seattle being similar to Detroit. It'll never recover. Economics are they're wildly different, aren't they? Detroit took out all the auto industry, had that massive, submarining. They just tanked. They're probably not coming back because guess what? Those auto worker industry jobs, those went international, didn't they? They went to countries that had cheaper labor sources. We've got the opposite here. We've got jobs coming in to the Seattle area because this is where the job pool is, and people want to have their employees, and they want to be able to have their employees live here because then they can cherry pick more employees. And guess what? At some point in time, we will go back to more people in the office. So it will be important to be within driving distance, within commuting distance to a major employment center like a Redmond, where Microsoft is, or a downtown Seattle, or a Bellevue, which is becoming a major hitter with Amazon. That's what we've got going on. So impacts of the coronavirus pandemic on the housing market are prevalent, according to several Northwest multiple listing representatives who commented on last month's activity. COVID-19 has made many reflect on what their homes mean to them. I think this is really true. Remarked John L. Scott. He's chairman and CEO of John L. Scott Real Estate, big real estate company here in the Pacific Northwest. As a result, many people are looking to create that ideal place to call home. We are seeing a rotation of home ownership, whether that means refinancing, remodeling, or moving. Ton of people still refinancing. I'm on a whole bunch of approved appraiser lists because I've been an appraiser for way longer than I want to admit, in excess of 30 years. And I am not that old. I am pretty old, not crazy old. A lot of my contemporaries have retired, let's put it that way. But I'm on a ton of lists because I've just been an appraiser and I've had my name on these lists, meaning I can get work from them. And I get requests, I get emails all day long requesting 2, 3, 4, 5 different properties they want to have done. What's my fee? What's my turnaround time? And I can kind of tell by how busy things are in the refinance world by how those things come in. And man, things are hopping. Last week, I saw a purchase order appraisal that came in, and the fee they were quoting was $2,000 for a single appraisal on a $550,000 purchase, which here in Seattle, that's a starter home. That's a basic entry-level home, $550,000. So $2,000, meaning they wanted it back super quick and they were willing to pay for it. Our average appraisal here in Seattle for my company is about $750. For other companies, probably a little bit less, but I've been doing this a long time, and so I typically charge more. My company charges more just because we've been around a long time. We have a good reputation, and people will pay us a little bit more than some other companies that are out there. So $2,000 versus $750, that's a big premium. Somebody wanted that appraisal back fast. That's a crazy one. All right. So with the trend toward employers allowing and in some cases requiring employees to work remotely, we've seen a very noteworthy increase of sales in the more affordable suburban cities, stated Gary O'Lear. He's owner and designated broker at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Signature Properties. That is a long name for a company. Can you imagine answering the phone back in the old days? Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Signature Properties. Wow, that's a mouthful. But it's the name of their company. I consistently hear of examples of COVID-related housing movement from our agents, such as a willingness to live further out, plans to move to the Pacific Northwest due to the ability to work remotely, a desire for a yard, home office, vacation property, etc. Rob Wasser, he's branch manager at Windermere Real Estate, added, but I do wonder if I'm noticing these instances because I'm on the lookout for them. I am too. I'm like, what's going on there? What's happening there? And a lot of it is just people moving around and wanting to take advantage of really good rates. They've got equity in their homes because their properties have appreciated, and they want to move up. They want to do something. James Young, director of the Washington Center for Real Estate Research at the University of Washington, also commented on shifting desires. People working from home, especially those with kids being schooled at home, seek both space and value. Those who already have a home have little incentive to leave. He described the current scenario of too much demand and limited supply coupled with low interest rates as the perfect price storm. That's what I've been talking about since Q1 of this year. You got a storm coming, and it's going to hit. And even though all those people said, oh, the bottom's going to fall out of the market, the Rona, all these people are out of work, didn't happen here in Seattle, didn't happen in a lot of markets across the U.S. because you've got enough buyers still out there with jobs and way, way less inventory than is needed to have a normal market. Supply continues to be inadequate to meet demand. Brokers added 11,210 new listings to inventory during September. It's a healthy increase from a year ago when they added 9,435 for a year-over-year gain of 18.1%. I know this stuff gets kind of boring, but bear with me. It's important stuff. It's stats. It's what business is all about, right? Compared to August, the volume declined by 733 listings, down about 6%. All right, so you had a year-over-year gain of 18.1% of inventory, but it is getting sucked up. At the end of September, the supply totaled 9,099 active listings, well below the year ago selection of 16,000 listings. Down, there's our 43%, and the lowest level since February. And February is when we're kind of just on the edge of coming out of our winter months, especially here in Seattle. The weather is still crappy in February. Nobody wants to put their house on the market. People are still just shaking off winter. Measured by months of supply, there is less than 1 month of supply, 0.89 system-wide. That is an amazing number. In all my years, I have never seen a number like that. If you were to tell me, hey, inventory is going to go to 0.89, I would say, what? How could that possibly be? Less than a month. In real estate terms, that is sold out. 2 words, sold out. Done. You got nothing left. 0.89. Crazy. In the Puget Sound region, only King County notched more than a month's supply, but if condos are excluded, there's only 0.85 months of supply in King County. So what's happening there? Condos are taking a little bit longer to sell. Their days on the market and their desirability with the Rona, that's not good, especially downtown. So people are not wanting to work downtown, especially in Seattle. Those markets have been impacted. And I've been saying for a while, if you want to bargain, go buy a condo in downtown because this is short-lived and you will not regret it. And you will say, thank you, Sean, 9 months from now. That's my prediction. All right. And you can quote me because you can watch this podcast again if you care. You probably won't. But if condos are excluded, yep, read that. Mason, Thurston, and Snohomish counties, these are a little bit outlying areas from King County, had the tightest inventory with only about 2 weeks of supply. 2 weeks. So that means that if inventory was on the market right now as it stood in those 3 counties, you would have enough supply with the absorption rate the way it is, to last 2 weeks, and then there is literally nothing on the market for buyers to look at. You would go on the MLS and there would be nothing. There would be no homes for sale. That's what that means. So there is a tiny little bit of inventory. Rates are super low, and guess what? When the buyers see something, they are pouncing on it along with a whole bunch of other people pouncing on it. That's what's creating this really aggressive, crazy market. Dean Rubin, he's broker owner at Village Homes and Properties in Woodinville, attributes the very active market to record low interest rates, jobs, and lifestyle choices. Nothing new there, right? We see a desire for homes with large yards or with acreage. Prepared purchasers are bringing strong offers to sellers at or over asking prices with few, if any, contingencies. And that's the thing I hate about this market, and I talk with my brokers all the time. I want to see a home buyer be able to buy a home with a building inspection so they know what they're getting. Otherwise, you're flying blind. You are naked without a building inspection. All right, I'm going to spend $1 million on this home, and I don't really know what's going on with this home. I want to be able to spend and recommend to my home buyers, let's spend $500. Let's get a building inspection done. If you still want to go with it, and if you can live with the defects that are in that house, let's go with it. But at least you will know. This market is so hot that people are having to waive all their contingencies, meaning their ability to get out of a transaction based on something specific like we don't like what we see in the building inspection. That is not happening. So it's putting buyers at a real disadvantage. And then if you have cash, that's king in this market. Because if you're going cash versus somebody else who has financing, you're going to crush that person with financing just about every time. Unless that person with financing has an offer with an escalation clause way over the top of yours. And even then, cash, that guy doesn't need to get financing. He's not dependent upon the bank saying yes. He's not dependent upon the appraisal coming back. You can just write that check. Let's give that cash guy a run. That's what you're seeing all the time. In most areas, we are virtually sold out in the more affordable, mid-price, and upper-end segments of the market. So we could have said, we're sold out, said Scott, adding, we're also seeing a record-setting number of luxury properties going under contract across King, Pierce, and Kitsap counties. Now, what's happening with luxury properties? Are people creating wealth? I saw an article yesterday in Forbes about how there were more billionaires, and there was the first billionaire with $200 billion of net worth. I can't remember who it was because that wasn't really important to me. It's like $200 billion. That's a lot of money. So the wealthy are getting wealthier during Rona. That's bottom line. Statistics compiled by North, and they're buying homes. That's the other bottom. That's the only line we care about here, right? I mean, if they're getting wealthy, we don't care. We're not billionaires. I doubt there's any billionaire out there listening to my podcast. If you are, let me know in the comments. You don't have to say your name, but just let me know. I'd love to know. Billionaire. Statistics compiled by Northwest Multiple Listing for these three counties show that there were 883 closed sales of single-family homes and condos last month in the luxury segment based on selling prices of $1 million and above. $1 million and above, that's not luxury, but we'll just run with it for the sake of this article. A year ago, there were 429 sales in this category, so double now. Double that. With the region's supply plummeting by over 43% compared to a year ago and months' supply below 1, double-digit house price growth should come as no surprise. And I think we are going to see this through the election and into the end of quarter 4 2020. And then I think you see if we have if we don't have a massive spike in the Rona, if we don't have Rona 2.0 or a big surge from 1.0, I think you see a super strong market in quarter 1 of 2021. I think even more people will feel confident. Right now, you've got an issue with supply because sellers don't want to put their homes on the market. They don't want to expose themselves. And guess what? Where would they go? You sell your home for huge dollars, you got to turn right back around and put huge dollars down somewhere else, unless you are leaving the area and going to Arizona or Idaho or Texas or any of the other spots that people are leaving Seattle for. Think about where those locations are. That's where people are heading. They don't want to stay in Seattle. They want to get away. The median price for homes and condos that sold last month across the Pacific Northwest market was $499,950, a hefty 19% jump from the year ago figure of $420,000. San Juan County had the highest median price of $850,000, followed by King County at $698,230. So $500,000 was median for all the areas in RMLS, 23 counties. And that's up 19% from a year ago. San Juan County, the San Juan Islands up to the northwest, pretty cool area. You may have heard of that, you may not, but it's like this epic big series of islands. People go boating and buy houses. There's usually not very much supply, and it's a really nice area. It had the highest median price of $850,000. That's a lot. Here in King County, call it $700,000. Pretty strong. That's your median, meaning half of your homes are less, half of your homes are more. Mean would be the average. This is median, so it's literally middle. Think of the spike in the middle. For single-family homes only, excluding condos, last month's median price system-wide was $519,000. In King County, the median price for single-family homes was $753,000. That's excluding condos. So call it $750,000, the median house price here in King County, where Seattle is. Within King County, where the MLS tracks 30 sub-areas, 6 of these areas had median prices over $1 million. 5 of those areas were on the east side. That's the east side of Lake Washington. That's where I live. That's where my office is. East of Lake Washington. West of Lake Washington is Seattle proper, and all of their nonsense over there. East side, good. West side, bad. Seattle. All right, one of the few counties that did not have double-digit price increases, and I'm joking when I say bad, but I mean, that's where all the nonsense, that's where all the protesting, that's where all the craziness is going on. And it's actually really only isolated to a few blocks typically. A lot of it's in our downtown core, which was bad before the protests started, but now it's even worse. And with defunding the police, it's not going to get better. Reimagining our police is fine, but after you're done thinking about it, you got to have a game plan in place. Otherwise, things are going to go even more sideways than they are now, and that is what will happen. All right, one of the few counties that did not have double-digit price increases from a year ago was Kitsap. Prices there were up almost 8.9%. So, I mean, you're 1.1% away from double-digit price increases, and they're making it sound like, oh, poor Kitsap, but 8.9% increase, double-digit price increase, that's amazing. Any other market, you're like, whew, sweet. Frank Leach, broker-owner at Remax Platinum Services in Silverdale, described Kitsap County as a hotspot for both, and Kitsap County is to the south and west of King County, for both first-time home buyers and high-end buyers. The phenomenal affordability factor in Kitsap bodes well for first-time buyers and those looking to downsize or upsize. The median price for last month's sales in Kitsap was $418,000. This is kind of an not an outer-lying market, but a little bit of an outer-lying market. Leach has noticed significant movement in the $1 million-plus segment and said many rentals are now going in the market as investors look to move into new investments or change platforms or just flat cash out. Hey, we met our objectives. Here's what we're doing. We're moving on. All right, I'm going to skip down here. Olaire believes Seattle continues to be a desirable destination despite the numerous negative news stories about Seattle. Guilty. And anecdotes of an exodus out of the city. Guilty. It is still a city where more people are moving into versus moving out of. And that's kind of what I talk about, is despite all of the train wreck stories here in Seattle, guess what? We're doing really well. We've got an economic base that is, where else are you going to find that? Especially when you consider the lifestyle factor you've got going on here in Seattle. I know you got to get through 9 or 10 months out of the year with either cloudy skies, and I'm pointing out the window now because I'm seeing cloud, or rainy, or kind of cold-ish. But you get a couple of summer months that are epic. Summers here in Seattle, Pacific Northwest, they're amazing. They're truly amazing. And that's why people move here. And a lot of it's because it's an easy lifestyle here. You don't have the super high pressure. You don't have the crazy prices you do of San Francisco. Talking to one of my new brokers, Cameron. Welcome to Summer Properties Northwest, Cameron. Cameron came on board. He's a broker in San Francisco, and he's moved to Seattle job-related, and he's going to be a broker with Summer Properties Northwest, and he found Summer Properties Northwest through this podcast. So if you're wondering why I do the podcast and I'm a real estate guy, that's kind of why, right? We also get a lot of appraisal business from the podcast because people don't really know appraisal companies. So they're like, we need an appraisal. My aunt Jenny died, and we got to do an appraisal for the estate, got to have a piece of paper that says what the home was worth at the time so the estate can wrap up all the final details. Who's an appraiser? Who's an appraisal company? Appraisers are kind of one of those companies that nobody really knows. So like when people ask me, they find out I'm an owner of an appraisal company. Oh, which one? It's like, does it matter? Because you don't know any to begin with. So it's Reynolds and Kline Appraisal. Oh, I've never heard of that. Shocking. Really? But you haven't ever heard of any appraisal companies. So when they know that I'm an owner of an appraisal company from the podcast, they reach out. It works out pretty good. So for those of you who have heard from the podcast and you've reached out to do business with Summit Properties Northwest or Reynolds and Kline Appraisal, thanks so much for getting this far. Appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe. And if you're on the podcast platform, thanks for tuning in and downloading this podcast. Right now, I'm shooting a couple of podcasts a day. And because this is a boring real estate podcast, I'm not, this is my third podcast of the day. So my voice is croaking, so I got to go. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you in the next one. Again, I'm Sean Reynolds from Summit Properties Northwest, Reynolds and Kline Appraisal. I will see you, and you'll hear me on the next podcast. Thanks again. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.